Now, it really is an exciting time in the running shoe industry at the moment. You know, I remember back in the day when we only had a handful of those big running brands to choose from, the likes of Nike, Adidas, Mizuno, Brooks, Saucony and Salomon, whereas now we've got lots of smaller kind of boutique running brands popping up all the time. What with Norda, Tracksmith, Speedland, just to name a few. In today's video, we are taking a look at one of the latest sort of boutique brands to hit the running scene, and it is Mount to Coast, and in particular their ultra distance road racer, the R1. So let's dive into the video and tell you a bit more about this exciting new running brand coming out of Hong Kong. How is everyone doing out there today? I hope you are all fit and well. I'm Lloyd Purvis and this is Run for Adventure. So it's always exciting here at the channel when we're taking a look at a new running brand on the scene, and we're going to be running in a shoe that we've never run in before. But before I give you a few stats about the R1, I thought I'd just give you a little bit more information about the Mount to Coast brand and what they're trying to achieve with their shoes. The first thing I've got to say is it's great to see a running brand website with lots and lots of information about their shoes. Pretty much everything you could ever want to know about the R1 shoe is on their website, which is again super positive, especially when you compare it to the websites of some of the big running brands out there. You know, brands like Nike, Adidas, Asics, and even New Balance, where there's pretty much no information about their shoes on their websites, which I find very strange. So like I've already mentioned, they are a Hong Kong based brand, and their aim is to produce running shoes for running long distances on the road. Now, the whole ultra trail scene has blown up over the last 5 or 6 years, and there's so many huge events all over the world now, but there is a kind of smaller, more underground ultra scene where the races take part on that road environment. So legendary races like Badwater, you've got Spartathlon and the Joggle here in the UK. Speaking of the Joggle, it is a multi-day race starting at the northernmost tip of Scotland, so John O'Groats, and then you have to run 854 miles all the way back to my neck of the woods, to the iconic Land's End. In spring this year, UK-based ultra runner actually won the Joggle event, and he broke the previous record by over 40 hours, but he didn't stop there because he also broke each individual stage record along the way. So a top performance from Justin, and he had a pair of R1s on his feet. Now, he really is an outstanding ultra runner with an impressive history in ultra distance events. So I'm not sure how much difference these shoes made to him winning that event, but he did have a pair on his feet. I've actually ridden John O'Groats to Land's End over 6 days on a bike, so I can vouch for it. It is a very long way, so super impressive to run that kind of distance over that number of days. And you never know, I might give it a go one day, we'll see. But let's give you a few stats about the R1, then we're going to break down this new construction in a bit more detail. So first up, price. They're available on the Mount to Coast website for $160. Unfortunately, their shoes are only available in the US at the moment. I actually spoke to the brand the other day, and they're working super hard to try and get them available in the UK and across Europe. So hopefully we will have a bit more availability soon. Weight-wise, my pair in a UK 9.5 tipped the scales at only 261 grams, so a pretty light trainer at that. We've got an 8mm heel offset with a stack height of 35mm at the heel and 27mm under the forefoot. Starting at the top, we've got this nice lightweight, breathable, double-layered jacquard fabric used in the construction, and that's covered in lots of small perforations to aid with airflow to try and keep your feet nice and cool. We've got a moderate level of padding in the tongue and around the ankle collar and in the heel. Happy to say the tongue is gusseted in that upper to give you that sort of foot-hugging feel. And also, the fabric used around this ankle and in the heel is super soft to touch, so this should be a pretty comfortable upper to run in. We've got a very unique lacing system going on in the R1, or should I say 2 lacing systems. So up top we've got your standard sort of running shoe lace, and then below that we've got something that looks very similar to, say, Salomon's quick lace system. Mount to Coast actually call this their TUNEDFIT dual lacing system, and it's been designed to make it very customizable in the midfoot and in the forefoot. And I've actually seen something very similar to this in some of the Kailash trail running shoes, but I've never seen it in a road running shoe before, so it's going to be very interesting to test that dual lacing system out on today's run. Moving down to this midsole construction, and there's lots of interesting tech going on here. Starting off first with Mount to Coast Light Cell. So this starts off with a PEBA hybrid compound before it gets charged with pure nitrogen, creating a supercritical foam, which is actually 50% lighter than your standard sort of running shoe EVA. So should give us lots of comfortable, bouncy energy return. But I suppose we'll only really find out when we get outside running in them. But it doesn't stop there as far as this midsole design goes, because housed inside is some clever technology called Zero Sag. Now, I said Zero Sag, not Zig and Zag, that comedy puppet duo of the telly here in the UK. Now, Mount to Coast claim that this is a groundbreaking midsole insert, and that's their words, not mine. But it's not your sort of standard carbon fibre plate insert that you find in a lot of race day shoes these days. This insert is all about long distance comfort and energy return. So rather than being that sort of stiff carbon fibre plate for propulsion. And then finally, flipping the shoes over to reveal the outsole on the R1. Now, I'm pretty sure this isn't your sort of standard blown rubber outsole that you get on most running shoes, because it feels a little bit too soft to be that. So I think it might be like a rubberized EVA or something similar, just to keep the overall weight of the running shoe down to a bare minimum. Now, Mount to Coast on their website do have a bit of a warning about this outsole material and the fact that it might be noticeably noisy when you're running in wet conditions or on wooden floors, which is a little bit weird. So I think it's going to be pretty dry for today's run, but it'd be really interesting to run these on a wet day just to test out how noisy that outsole could be. Okay, so there you have it, the new ultra distance road racer from the guys at Mount to Coast, the R1. Now, there's lots of things that interest me about this shoe. That midsole design with that clever insert, that dual lacing system, and maybe this slightly odd, noisy outsole. So really looking forward to testing them out today. So without further ado, I'm off to get changed. I'm going to grab the cameras, and then we're going to be taking the new R1 out for its first run on the roads of Cornwall. Okay, so first things first, we have got another gorgeous blue sky day here in Cornwall, but it is pretty windy, really strong headwind coming around the harbour there. It's one of the downsides of living in Cornwall, especially right down the tip in Hale. There's not a lot to protect you from the wind. That wind howls over the sea and hits you pretty hard, so it's just something we've got to get used to. As far as the shoe goes, let's talk all about fit and sizing first. So we're what, 3.5 miles into the run, and does feel very comfortable straight out of the box. Really good hold in the heel, really good lockdown around my midfoot, and I would say they're definitely true to size. So this UK 9.5 is giving me the perfect amount of length in that toe box. But the most impressive thing of all is that dual lacing system. Now, when I first saw it, I thought it was a little bit gimmicky, if I'm honest, but it's actually working really well. So the upper's kind of split into two halves. You got the traditional laces up top, and that gives you this kind of midfoot band that you pull down nice and tight. And then you've got that quick lace system in the bottom that really does allow you to sort of adjust that toe box, really sort of personalize it. So I actually haven't pulled it down that tight, and the shoe's giving me a nice sort of airy, roomy width in that toe box. But if I wanted to, I could adjust that quick lace system. So I totally see now how this kind of dual lace system could work really well in the ultra running world. Having run quite a few ultra distance races over the years, I am fully aware of how much your feet can expand over distance with all that repetitive impact, especially if you're running on the road. So I can totally see how having that dual lace system and that quick lace system down the bottom, at the start of the race you could have that pulled down a bit tighter, and then as your feet expand you could release that off, giving you a bit more width in the toe box. So it's actually a really clever system. But we're going to try and get in a sort of 7 to 8 mile run today. Like I said, we're 3.5 miles in, so let's crack on, let's get these miles done. halfway. Let's get home. Okay, so we are definitely going to be getting in somewhere close to 8 miles tonight. Super windy coming around the harbour there. I was hanging on for dear life, but we're on our way home, and this is actually my first run this week. So towards the end of last week, actually my Sunday run, my calf started to tighten up a bit. Obviously the body's still recovering from the South Downs Way 100, so we're not getting carried away. I went and got treatment with Kate on Tuesday, and it's made a world of difference. It's feeling a lot better tonight, but we've just been taking it really easy in the glorious sunshine, sort of 8-30-minute miling, but the shoe's running well so far. With it weighing in at only 261 grams, it does feel really light, nice and responsive, and really well balanced. So like I said, first impressions are pretty good, but let's get back to the studio, and then we're going to wrap this video up with a quick conclusion. We'll see you there. Just shy of 8 miles in the end, and in fact 7.94 miles to be precise. So a good distance in a new shoe straight out of the box, and it's given me a real good idea of how the R1s are going to feel and perform. First thing we got to talk about is I'm a big fan of this upper construction. So it feels super light and airy while you're out there running, very plush internally. So again, feels like there's nothing in the wrong areas or wrong place, so no rubbing or irritation. For me, just the right level of padding around the ankle collar, in the heel, and in that gusseted tongue. And it also seems to work really well for my foot shape. So nice secure hold in the heel and a really secure lockdown around my midfoot. Like I mentioned out on the run, I think this TUNEDFIT dual lacing system works really well, and it makes the fit of these very customizable. So if you're new to the channel and you don't know, I've got a relatively narrow foot shape, and I had lots of nice wiggle room up front, so there's good width in the toe box. But if I'd wanted to, I could have pulled down this secondary lacing system a bit tighter to pull that upper a bit closer to my forefoot. But I actually enjoyed having that space, and it kind of allowed me to naturally spread and splay my feet on impact, which was a really nice feeling. And then we've got this more traditional lacing system up top, which gave me that really good secure lockdown. So I think this clever lacing system works well, but it also makes the fit very adaptable. So I think the R1 would work really well for a big mix of different foot shapes. The Outsole supercritical foam midsole felt nice and comfortable underfoot, but what I really like is that this Outsole foam is nice and light, so it makes the shoe feel really well balanced, and the R1 actually runs lighter than it physically is, and it's a pretty light shoe anyway. Maybe not as much bounce from that foam as I was expecting. I think you do get a little bit more energy return from Saucony's Power Run PB or Nike's Zoom X foam, but still very comfortable. And obviously this was just the first run, so maybe this foam needs a bit of bedding in. I would say that you get a sort of moderate midfoot flexibility in that midsole, but we do have mount to coast go flow geometry, so they actually felt nice and efficient when I was bobbing along on today's run. Like I said, really steady run today, but I actually think that's a good test for this shoe because, like the brand say, it's been designed and developed for ultra distance road racing. So over them sort of distances, you're not going to be running much quicker than that. However, I do think the R1 would actually perform pretty good at higher tempos. What with it being nice and light, very well balanced, it does feel nimble and responsive. And flipping them over, as far as outsole performance goes, this compound was super sticky out there on all the pavements, all the roads. You can see on the run, on the footage there, it was super dry, so I didn't get to test out how noisy it would be in wet conditions. Although, when I left the flat, down in the stairwell there, we've got a tiled floor, and it did sound pretty noisy, but to be fair, that's happened to a lot of shoes that I've tested over the years. The biggest interest is going to be how well does this compound hold up to the mileage, because you know we only run 8 miles today, and I'm already seeing a little bit of wear on the outside edge of the heel there, so we'll definitely be keeping a close eye on that outsole over the coming weeks to see how it holds up. But all in all, I really enjoyed my first run in this new Ultra Road Racer from Mount to Coast, the R1. Nice and light, very comfortable midsole, great fitting upper, and we've got that clever lacing system. So lots and lots of positives. I do think it's a shame that the shoe is only available in the US at the moment, but hopefully Mount to Coast will address that and sort that out soon. I also think it's quite odd that they're pitching this shoe at a very kind of small niche part of the running community. You know, ultra distance events have definitely blown up over the last 6 or 7 years, but they predominantly are on the trails, and the whole ultra road or multi-day ultra road scene, their events are pretty thin on the ground. So, you know, it is thin pickings out there, and I personally think it's just a nice neutral shoe to run in, and you don't have to run crazy ultra distances to enjoy it. Obviously, these are just my initial thoughts after today's first run, but I actually think for a new shoe from a new brand, Mount to Coast have actually done a pretty good job with the R1, and it looks like we've got another exciting running brand on the scene, and I'm looking forward to see what they come up with in the future. I've got to say a big thanks to the brand for sending the shoes out to Run for Adventure to test and review. It really is a big help to the channel and greatly appreciated. It would be awesome to hear from you guys. What do you think about all these new running shoe brands popping up these days? Do you think it's a good thing, or do you think it makes it even more confusing when it comes to picking and selecting a new shoe? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. But for now, guys, really hope you enjoyed the video. If you have, don't forget to smash that like button and maybe subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Super simple to do, just by clicking on that little red box down there in the corner. Only takes a few seconds, but best of all, it is completely free, but it really does help us out at the channel. While you're there, maybe hit that bell icon as well, because then you'll be notified when we upload any new exciting content. But thanks for watching, it's really appreciated. We'll be back here soon, and as always, stay safe and keep on running. Their aim is to design running shoes that are built for running long distances, but doing that on the road environment. Now, the whole ultra trail scene has blown up over the last 5 or 10. Bleh. Justin is an incredible ultra runner with an amazing history of previous ultra distance event. But it doesn't stop there as far as this midsole construction goes, because housed inside is Mount to Coast's Zero Sag. Now I said easy for me to say, not.